Warrior, listen up and listen good. I have to talk about the crime duo again. That would be Epstein Maxwell. And I'll tell you why. Because it's come to light that survivors have come forward and shared with the House Judiciary Committee that one of the tactics of the crime duo, and Jeffrey Epstein in particular, was leaning on, including minors at the time. I can get you into a great college such as NYU, a great university, like Columbia, um, as a way of using, this coercion, this force, this cover up. And he indeed, according to these survivors, victims, I use that word interchangeably because they were victims and and they are survivors, but it's come to light that he abused some of them that have come forward for years, at the time minors, and his lawyer and office manager type arranged everything for these young women, again, some teens, I can't reinforce that enough, to go to the prestigious schools of NYU and also to Columbia. Now, we know Jeffrey Epstein donated a lot of money to both of these universities, but again, can this story get any worse? Listen, I've said it and it hasn't been very popular. We will never get the truth about this. This is a very complicit crime. We've seen the history of how they've unrolled, redacted books and files and this and that. It's gone nowhere, okay? So let's just say, though, I want to talk about the complicit parties today, and that would be NYU and Columbia University. Are they responsible? Did they accept young women? Maybe young women who weren't even qualified. Now, this I don't know, but somehow miraculously got into these colleges and all of their expenses were paid for. And there was even one case pointed out that one of the students, her tuition was vastly overpaid, and those direct reimbursements went directly to this young woman. So was this a way to, when you're vulnerable, I'm not making excuses for any of this, I'm just saying, get you to do something because you're so desperate, you do want to go to college, especially New York City, prestigious, and then all of a sudden it's offered to you. Now, again, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying, remember, when you're young and the brain's not working correctly and things seem glamorous, or think back, everybody. We know so much more as we get older. And then also as a method of providing silence, right? Buying off the victim happens all the time. So the other thing I want to point out about this, so let's dig in there with NYU and Columbia, see what's happening. I always like to say, and I'm not being cute when I say it, money talks and crime walks. Perfect example. But I have to, something that's been on my mind the last few days. Let me switch up the story a little bit. We all know about, pretty much, Timothy Busfield, the director, the actor, married to Melissa Gilbert from Little House on the Prairie, has been arrested. He's incarcerated right now for child abuse, child sexual abuse. The point I want to make about this is a person who, again, disgusting on all levels. Remember, you're innocent until proven guilty. That's number one. Number two, I have to point out, a lot of cases of this revenge, we're going to use the kids as a tool and either accuse, somebody we don't like of sexual abuse or inappropriate behavior, or when couples are getting divorced, it's seen a lot in the courts using the children again to say one of the dad or the mom sexually abused. So this is a very complex issue. All right, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, but innocent until proven guilty. But what I don't understand is when I'm hearing these stories, reading these stories, for instance, they took this battering ram and broke down the door to where Melissa Gilbert and Timothy Busfield lived in upstate New York, even though he was in, I believe, New Mexico and turned himself in. I wish we had seen that kind of force with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, battering rams. And when we had, for decades, victims who came forward and relayed things to police departments, nobody believed them, nobody did anything, nobody took the action any further. Did anybody go to Les Wexner's house in Ohio with a battering ram? with Annie Farmer when she relayed all this was happening to her? What about that island? Did anybody show up there with battering rams to, please? So I find this kind of disconnect incredibly questionable, don't you? Of course you do. But what we're going to focus on is let's start, which we've always been talking about, the Warriors, bringing in the complicit parties. It's not good enough in my book that only Ghislaine Maxwell is at the country club. I don't want to say jail or prison because it seems like kind of a health club environment to me, going out for the lattes, doing the yoga, reportedly leaving once or twice a week in a very big black SUV, disappearing for a few hours. Who knows? And then Jeffrey, gone, so they say. But what about all the other ones? We know, same old playbook. They cut deals for information. But what information? There are no buyers or participants in jail that we know about. So let's start calling them out. And let's start today with NYU and Columbia. Did these young women go to these schools? Were they qualified? Did they keep their grades up? I mean, what's the deal here? Start asking questions. It's 2026. We no longer accept the status quo. We question more. We dig deeper. We share facts, not fears. Remember, community creates change. So let's all speak up. Let's start discussing this. But in the meantime, each and every day when you wake up, go out and be a warrior.